Hi there, this is Rossouw with the ITONICS Academy, and I'm here to take you through this course on the essentials of design thinking. This course is for corporate innovators, R&D managers, product designers, business strategists, or really anyone interested in the design thinking process. The course is divided into 6 sessions, starting with this one, which provides an introduction to design thinking. In the following 5 sessions, you can expect to learn about the practical aspects and core phases of design thinking, including the Empathize phase, getting insight into your user's needs, the Define phase, turning insights into problem statements, the Ideation phase, generating creative solutions to the defined problems, the prototype and test phases, bringing concepts to life and validating them in real-world conditions, and lastly, integrating design thinking into your end-to-end innovation process for continuous, user-centered value creation. Each session is also accompanied by supporting materials, including blog articles, use cases, and downloadable templates to reinforce your understanding and application of the concepts. Whether you're looking to innovate your product offerings, improve internal processes, or create new business modes, this course will provide the essential skills to drive impactful and user-centered innovation in your organization. Let's get into it. Design thinking is one of those terms that gets thrown around a lot. It's a curriculum for design students, a buzzword for creatives, and in the mix, it sometimes becomes too complicated, sometimes even over-engineered, because actually, you can understand design thinking quite simply. At its core, it's about understanding the people you're designing for, identifying their needs and challenges, and then coming up with creative solutions to address those needs. It's a human-centered approach to innovation that encourages empathy, experimentation, and iteration. While this all might seem obvious, what often happens in traditional innovation methods is that people forget about the end user's perspective. Consider, for instance, top-down innovation. It's dictated by senior management in an organization and can, in some cases, lack sufficient input from end users and frontline employees. Then there's also technology-driven design or push innovation, where a company introduces new solutions because of advances in science and technology. But there may not actually be a compelling problem for the solution to solve. Additionally, market-driven pull innovation differs from design thinking in the way it mainly focuses on following market trends and competitor activities. This approach gets closer to addressing user needs, but might still lack adequate specifics and empathy. Remember, each of these methods serves a different purpose. There's no universal method that works for every company in every case. So, you should consider design thinking when you need to deeply understand your users. Design thinking embraces empathy and uncovers the real needs and challenges of your users. You want to foster innovation and creativity. The iterative nature of design thinking encourages experimentation to generate diverse ideas. You face complex, ambiguous problems because design thinking helps you navigate uncertainty when the problem isn't clearly defined or the solution isn't obvious. You want to improve user experience. Design thinking prioritizes positive user experience by listening to user feedback and continuously refining the solution. Your goal is to enhance collaboration. Design thinking can bring cross-functional teams together, break down organizational silos, and foster a culture of co-creation. There's another reason to adopt design thinking: competitive advantage. Companies that focus on design perform better than the S&P each year. McKinsey reports that companies using design thinking approaches experience a 32% higher revenue growth and 56% higher returns than those that don't. If you want evidence of design thinking's success in corporate innovation, just look at many of today's most successful companies and the products and services we interact with daily. Companies like PepsiCo, Nike, and Toyota have incorporated design thinking principles into their innovation processes. Leading technology companies including Apple, Microsoft, and Samsung, as well as platforms like Airbnb and Uber Eats, have all used design thinking to achieve success. Design thinking has also been applied in fields such as healthcare, education, and social services, where the human perspective is imperative. Design thinking may not be right for every case, but look at any industry and you'll likely find a prominent and promising example of design thinking in action. So, are you still with us? Do you reckon design thinking could be right for your organization? Great. Now, let's get into the details a bit more. Without me going into the complete history of design thinking, it's good to understand its origins. In the mid-20th century, design thinking evolved from industrial design, engineering, and architecture on the one side, and cooperative design and cognitive psychology on the other. This blend combined practical problem-solving techniques with an understanding of human behavior and collaboration. Fast forward to the early 2000s, through the work of the design consultancy Ideate and the Hasso-Plattner Institute of Design at Stanford University, modern design thinking was formalized as a distinct and teachable methodology for innovation and problem-solving across various fields. You will most often see this methodology consisting of 5 phases: empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. In the empathize phase, the goal is to gain a deep understanding of the users and their needs. This involves observing, engaging, and immersing oneself in the user's environment to gather insights about their experiences and challenges. For example, a healthcare company might shadow nurses and doctors in a hospital to understand the challenges they face with current medical equipment. They'll take note of pain points and identify areas for improvement. During the define phase, the insights gathered during the empathize phase are analyzed and synthesized to define the core problem. This involves creating a clear and concise problem statement that focuses on the user's needs. Based on observations, the healthcare company might define the problem as nurses need a more efficient way to track patient vitals to reduce errors and save time. The ideate phase is where creativity comes into play. You use various brainstorming techniques to generate a wide range of ideas and potential solutions. The aim here is to think broadly and explore different possibilities. The healthcare company's team might brainstorm various solutions, such as developing a mobile app to track patient vitals or redesigning the existing monitoring system to be more user-friendly. In the prototyping phase, the best ideas from the ideate phase are turned into tangible prototypes. These can either be simple low-fidelity models or more complex high-fidelity versions, depending on the solution being tested. The team might create a basic wireframe of the mobile app or a mock-up of the new monitoring system, focusing on key functionalities. The test phase involves testing the prototypes with real users to gather feedback and identify issues or areas for improvement. This phase is iterative, often leading to multiple rounds of refinement and retesting. The healthcare company might pilot the new app with a group of nurses, collecting feedback on usability and effectiveness, and then using that to iterate on the design. These phases collectively ensure that the solutions that get developed are inventive, deeply rooted in user needs, and rigorously tested. This leads to innovative and practical outcomes that truly address the problems at hand. We will go into each of these phases more in depth in the following sessions. But before that, I encourage you to consider the following questions. How does your organization currently approach problem solving and innovation? What challenges does your team face when trying to develop user-centered solutions? Which aspects of design thinking resonate most with your current goals? Can you think of a recent project that could have benefited from a design thinking approach? And lastly, how might adopting a design thinking mindset change the way your team collaborates and innovates? Reflect on these questions. Discuss it with your colleagues. This will prepare you nicely for our upcoming sessions, where we'll unpack each phase of the design thinking process. See you there. And welcome back to this course on Design Thinking Essentials. In the first session, we covered some of the basics of the topic, including the origins of design thinking and the reasons why you should consider using it as an innovation approach. We also briefly outlined the 5 core steps most commonly used in design thinking: empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. You will see variations of these steps, with some methodologies condensing or expanding the number of steps or using different names, but in essence, they all follow the same process and principles. Know your user, know their pain points, collaboratively develop solutions for those pain points, and then experiment, validate, and iterate to develop the best solution. Or, as Ideate structures it in its field guide to human-centered design, inspiration, ideation, and implementation. Today, we're diving into the first and arguably most crucial step: empathize. This phase is all about uncovering deep user insights. The empathize phase sets the foundation for all subsequent steps in the design thinking process. It's about understanding your users on a profound level to identify their true needs and pain points. By immersing yourself in their world, you can gather valuable insights that will guide the rest of your design efforts. Without this deep understanding, you risk developing products or services that miss the mark and fail to solve real problems. As a consequence, your solutions simply won't be adopted by the people they're intended to help. But before you jump in and immerse yourself in your user's world, you need to establish the foundation of your design project. This involves framing your design project. Try writing a single sentence or question that captured what it is you're trying to do. For example, how might we improve the experience of patients undergoing long-term medical treatments? Or perhaps something like, how can we leverage automation and robotics to enhance production efficiency and quality? A well-framed design project identifies a specific area of focus and sets clear objectives while leaving room for creative exploration. It should be open-ended to encourage a wide range of potential solutions while also taking into account constraints and context. It needs to strike a balance between being too narrow and too broad. In addition to framing your design project, you will also need to develop a project plan, form a dedicated team, and conduct secondary research. While primary and in-context research is at the heart of design thinking, you first need to build out the broader context surrounding your design project. This involves gathering and analyzing secondary research to understand existing solutions, market trends, user demographics, and technological advancements. Secondary research provides a foundational knowledge base that can inform and guide your primary research efforts. So you ask better questions and eventually develop more informed and effective solutions. Now, you're almost ready to directly engage, to empathize with your users. But first, there is this crucial question: who are your users? This may seem obvious, and so it often gets passed over. But there is value in interrogating who your users are currently, as well as who you want them to be in the future. who do you want to target as an expansion of your user base? You may also want to segment your users, since that'll help direct solutions and prioritization. You've got your primary users. These are the main users who will directly interact with your product or service. Then there's secondary users. These users interact indirectly with your product or service, or might influence the primary users. And then also think about extreme users. They represent the extreme of your user base. These can provide valuable insights that might not be apparent from looking at the average user. For example, those who are tech savvy versus those with limited tech experience. Let's return to an example design project. Imagine you want to improve the experience of patients undergoing long-term medical treatments. In this example, the primary users are, of course, the patients. The secondary users might be healthcare providers, family members, caregivers, or hospital administration and support staff. Then, extreme users could potentially be patients with chronic conditions or rare diseases, patients with severe physical or emotional challenges, or young children or elderly patients. Identifying and segmenting your users in this way can help you decide the best approach for engaging with them. There are several options, and choosing the right combination of techniques can significantly impact the depth, quality, and authenticity of the responses you get back. We'll talk here about 4 general approaches to collecting user insights: observation, interviews, surveys, and immersion. So let's start with observation. This involves watching your users in their natural environment without interfering. It helps you understand the context in which they interact with your product or service and identify unspoken needs and behaviors. By closely observing users, you can gain insights into their experiences, challenges, and pain points that they might not articulate in interviews or surveys. The aim is to observe without interfering. Most importantly, you want to be unobtrusive, blend into the background, and avoid interrupting the natural flow of activities. Also, be sure to take detailed notes. Record observations about actions, expressions, and interactions. Pay attention to body language and facial expressions. Unspoken cues can reveal a lot. Next, you have interviews. This involves conducting conversations directly with users, either individually or in a group setting. You'll need well-crafted questions for this. You want to emphasize open-ended questions that encourage detailed responses rather than simple yes or no answers. For example, can you describe a typical day when you use our product? Use probing questions. Follow up on responses to gain deeper insights. For example, can you tell me more about why that was frustrating for you? Avoid leading or biased questions. Ensure your questions are neutral and do not suggest a particular answer. So, instead of, do you find our product easy to use? Ask, how would you describe your experience using our product? It's also important to build rapport with your interviewees. Try starting with casual conversation to make them feel comfortable. Practice active listening and show you are engaging by nodding, maintaining eye contact, and occasionally summarizing what the user has said to ensure understanding. The third approach to collecting user insights is surveys. This approach involves collecting data from a broader audience to identify common themes and patterns. For effective surveys, include a mix of question types, such as multiple choice, rating scales, and open-ended questions, to gather both quantitative and qualitative data. You want to ensure the questions are clear and concise. Don't leave room for ambiguity and avoid using technical jargon or complex language that might confuse respondents. For example, instead of, How would you assess the efficacy of the UI/UX design elements implemented in our application interface? Use how easy is it to use our app? With both surveys and interviews, consider offering incentives to encourage participation. Just be sure to uphold fairness and transparency to incentive schemes and avoid coercion. The final approach we'll talk about here is immersion. Immersion is about experiencing the user's environment firsthand to gain a deeper understanding of their context and challenges. An often cited example of this comes from Airbnb. Back in 2009, Airbnb's founders noticed that the platform was struggling to gain traction. To understand why, they traveled to New York City, one of their key markets, and stayed with hosts who were using the platform. By living in the homes of their hosts and engaging with them directly, they were able to see firsthand the challenges and opportunities from the perspective of both the host and guest. By employing these Empathize approaches, you can gather a wealth of insights into the experiences of users. These insights form the foundation for the next steps in the design thinking process, where you'll analyze, cluster, and map these insights, turning them into clear problem statements and detailed personas. In our next session, we'll cover the define phase. See you there. Hey, thanks for sticking with us on this Design Thinking Essentials course. In the last session, we covered the Empathize phase, where we explored how to uncover deep user insights through observation, interviews, surveys, and immersion. We will now dive into the next phase, define. The define phase is a bridge between what users need and the creative process of generating solutions to meet those needs. By clearly defining the problems based on user insights, we create a solid foundation to generate innovative solutions in the ideate phase. This seamless transition ensures that our ideation is focused and grounded in real user needs. The define phase is all about making sense of the data you collected during the empathize phase. It involves analyzing, clustering, and synthesizing user insights to pinpoint the core problems that need solving. A well-defined problem statement sets the stage for creative ideation and effective solutions. So, first, let's talk about organizing your data and insights to streamline and speed up the analysis process. There are several tools and techniques you can use to do this. Here, we'll go through 4 of the most accepted and effective options. Number 1, affinity diagrams. Affinity diagrams are incredibly useful for organizing observations and insights into clusters. This technique helps you identify patterns and themes by grouping similar pieces of data together. Essentially, it allows you to make sense of large amounts of data and find common issues. For example, in a healthcare project, you might find that patients consistently mention long wait times and unclear communication as major pain points. By clustering these insights, you'll notice recurring themes that need addressing. Next, we have empathy maps. Empathy maps are useful tools to visualize user attitudes and behaviors. They comprise 4 quadrants or segments for organizing what users say, think, do, and feel. This highlights the importance of interpreting what people say by also picking up on non-verbal cues captured in the empathize phase. For example, if a user says, "This product is too complicated to set up," they might be thinking, "Am I doing something wrong?" Possibly revealing a feeling of self-doubt. Or say you're observing a user on an e-commerce site and they open multiple items in separate tabs to compare features, prices, reviews. This may indicate that they need an easier way to do side-by-side product comparisons. Evidence of how a user feels often comes from body language and microactions, such as smiling or frowning, appearing tensed or relaxed, fidgeting, sighing, or maybe checking their phone frequently. Now, let's move on to personas. Personas are fictional yet realistic representations of important user segments that you create using insights from the Empathize phase. Developing personas involves identifying patterns and themes about user behaviors, needs, goals, and pain points to then create detailed profiles. You will also want to include demographic information about your personas, such as age, gender, occupation, education level, and geographic location. These details help create a comprehensive and realistic picture of your users, which guides your design efforts to be more user-centered and effective. Let's imagine an example of a persona from the automotive industry. A 30-year-old female software engineer with a master's degree in data science. Living in an urban area, she commutes daily using her electric vehicle. She seeks an eco-friendly car with advanced safety features and autonomous driving capabilities. However, she finds the charging infrastructure for electric vehicles insufficient. She feels the current user interface in the vehicle is not intuitive, and she's concerned about the high cost of vehicle maintenance. Creating such detailed and realistic personas may seem excessive, but it can be very valuable. By thoroughly understanding users and their experiences, you can better guide design efforts to be more user-centered and effective. The fourth tool we'll look at here is customer journey maps. Customer journey maps visualize the entire experience a user has with a product or service over time, highlighting key interactions. To create a customer journey map, you start by identifying the different stages a user goes through, such as awareness, consideration, purchase, and post-purchase. Next, you map out the touch points at each stage where the user interacts with your product or service. This can include actions like visiting your website, speaking with customer service, or using the product itself. Using the insights gathered during the Empathize phase, you'll document what the user is doing, thinking, and feeling at each touch point. This helps to highlight pain points and opportunities for improvement. Other tools you could use in this define phase include the 5 whys, Ishikawa diagrams, SWOT analysis, mind mapping, and others. Choosing the right tool depends on the specific design project and the types of insights you've gathered. You can find more information about these tools in the resources at the end of this session. It is important to note that, like so much of innovation now, digitalization and artificial intelligence have transformed these various techniques. Today, design teams can use AI to analyze data from users' interviews and interactions, automating the initial drafting of empathy maps, personas, and customer journeys. In fact, research shows that leveraging AI in developing empathy maps can reduce the time spent by up to 44%. And capturing all of this with interactive tools like digital radars, matrices, and network graphs supports enhanced transparency, collaboration, and more efficient decision-making. So, after employing one or more of these tools to analyze your user insights, it's now time to transform this information into clear and concise problem statements. A well-crafted problem statement defines the issue, explains its impact on users, and suggests the context in which the solution should operate. A helpful format for framing problem statements is the "how might we" question. This format encourages a solution-focused mindset and opens up possibilities for innovation. For instance, based on your insights, you might frame a problem statement as, how might we improve our quality control process to reduce defects and returns? Or, how can we accelerate the adoption of electric vehicles by improving their affordability and convenience? Creating these problem statements involves distilling your insights down to their essence. It's about capturing the core challenge in a way that is actionable and inspiring for the ideation phase. And there you go. With a clear problem statement, you're now ready to ideate potential solutions grounded in real user experiences. So with that, let's wrap up the session on the define phase of design thinking. In the next session, you'll learn about the ideate phase. We'll look at best practice tips for idea generation and how to channel your team's collective creativity and expertise towards solving your users' needs. See you there. Hey there, welcome back to this course on Design Thinking Essentials. In our previous session, we covered the define phase, where we looked at transforming user insights into clear and concise problem statements. These problem statements are crucial since they set the stage for the next phase, ideate. We'll now dive into the details of this phase, focusing on generating creative solutions to the problems we've defined. The ideate phase is where creativity and collaboration come into play. It's about pooling your collective intelligence and looking at a problem from different angles. The goal here is not to find a single perfect solution, but to generate a diverse array of potential solutions. Ideation allows us to break free from traditional thinking patterns and explore novel approaches to problem solving. It encourages divergent thinking, where we consider a wide range of possibilities before converging on the most promising solutions. This process helps us uncover unexpected ideas that can lead to breakthrough innovations. The ideate phase inspires innovative thinking by leveraging the insights gathered during the empathize phase and the problem statements crafted during the define phase. The ideation we are talking about in this course is specifically ideation within the end-to-end design thinking process. That said, it can take various forms. It can involve either large and broad groups like crowdsourcing or small dedicated groups. It can also involve internal or external contributors, for example, specialists within your company or partners, vendors, and startups. And in practice, many organizations use a mix of both internal and external participants, then adjust the group size based on the specific needs of the design project. By combining diverse perspectives while maintaining a manageable group size, you can foster a rich environment for innovative ideas to emerge. For example, a company might start with smaller internal teams to gather initial ideas, then expand to larger sessions that include external experts who can refine and broaden the range of solutions. This approach makes the most of the deep knowledge of internal teams as well as the fresh perspective of external participants. Another distinction to point out is the difference between ideation and idea management. While ideation describes the actual step of generating ideas, idea management is the operational methodology of organizing, evaluating, prioritizing, and implementing these ideas. It's about taking the raw ideas and refining them into actionable plans. Ideation traditionally occurs through idea challenges or collaborative workshops and can, in reality, occur anywhere. You never know when a great idea, a solution to your defined problem, will strike. But idea management, this occurs most effectively within a systematic framework like a phase gate process on a centralized platform like an innovation operating system. If you would like to learn more about the fundamentals of idea management, check out our Ideation Essentials course. Now, let's get into the how of ideation. We'll touch on 5 proven methods for effective ideation. There are countless other methods, and choosing the right one depends on your unique circumstances, including the strategic importance, urgency, and the cost you're willing to incur to solve the problem at hand. Again, you can find out more about this in the Ideation Essentials course. So, onto the methods. Number 1 is the most widely used and easy to implement: brainstorming. The key to successful brainstorming is to create a safe and open environment where participants feel comfortable sharing their ideas without fear of judgment. The main rules of brainstorming are: no criticism. Suspend judgment and criticism during the brainstorming session. This will encourage free thinking and creativity. Build on ideas. Encourage participants to build on each other's ideas, fostering collaboration. Embrace wild ideas. Sometimes the most unconventional ideas lead to the best solutions. For example, in the automotive industry, a team might brainstorm ways to enhance the user experience of electric vehicles. Ideas could range from developing a more intuitive user interface to using augmented reality features for navigation. Similar to brainstorming is brainwriting, which has participants write down their ideas instead of verbalizing them. It can be useful for introverted team members. Now, method number 2, role-playing. Role-playing involves stepping into the shoes of the user and acting out scenarios to uncover new perspectives and insights. This technique helps to reinforce the empathy aspect of design thinking and can reveal hidden challenges and opportunities. Method number 3, mind mapping. Mind mapping is a visual tool that helps you organize ideas and explore connections between them. Start with the central problem statement in the middle of a page, and then branch out with related ideas and sub-ideas. This technique helps teams visually structure thoughts and encourage the exploration of various aspects of the problem. Imagine you're working on improving patient experiences in a healthcare setting. Your mind map might include branches like communication, wait times, comfort, and technology. Under each branch, you can add more specific ideas, such as real-time updates under communication or comfortable seating under comfort. Lastly, method number 4, scamper. Scamper is a mnemonic that stands for substitute, combine, adapt, modify. Put to another use, eliminate, and reverse. This technique encourages you to think about the problem from different angles by asking questions based on those 7 prompts. For instance, if you're working on improving the efficiency of a manufacturing process, you might ask, what materials or components can we substitute to enhance efficiency? Can we combine different processes or tools to streamline production? What can we adapt from other industries to improve our process? How do we modify the current workflow to reduce bottlenecks? Can any part of the process be repurposed for a different function? What steps or elements can we eliminate to simplify the process? What if we reverse the order of operations? How would that affect efficiency? So, these are just a few of the many methods for idea generation. but the biggest trend in ideation at the moment is the use of generative AI. Gen AI is transforming the ideation phase of design thinking by enhancing human creativity and rapidly generating high-quality ideas. A common pitfall seen in traditional ideation methods is getting quantity over quality. In contrast, Gen AI-powered tools can be trained and prompted to produce ideas that are more aligned to your company's goals and respond to specific user needs. This precision ensures that the ideas generated are not only novel, but also relevant. It eliminates the challenge of sorting through an overwhelming number of misaligned or incomplete ideas. Research shows that Gen AI has already surpassed human-level creativity, excelling in originality and elaboration, and, in one study, even rivaling MBA students in idea generation. In our own experiment, comparing ideas created by our smart ideation tool against ideas from experts in innovation and technology, few participants could distinguish between the human and AI-generated ideas. Even with minimal information, AI-generated ideas were of equal or better quality than human ideas. Understanding the strengths of Gen AI, as well as those of your team and idea contributors, will help you make the most of these resources. For instance, Gen AI excels at generating initial seed ideas with minimal context, producing outputs that meet specific criteria for quality, consistency, and scope. It can even refine these preliminary ideas, ensuring that by the time your internal experts, who possess specialized technical, business, and customer knowledge, review them, the ideas are well-formed and ready for further development. This synergistic approach maximizes the efficiency of your ideation process, blending the rapid creativity of AI with the deep, contextual insights of your human team. To test out Gen AI ideation yourself, you can check out our free AI toolbox with several custom AI GPTs, including the Creative Charlie GPT for brainstorming innovative ideas. You'll find a link to Creative Charlie in the resources for this session. So now, once you have a pool of well-defined ideas, the next step is to narrow them down and select the most promising ones to prototype. The transition from ideation to prototyping involves evaluating the feasibility, viability, and desirability of the ideas. It's crucial to involve a diverse team in the selection process to ensure a well-rounded perspective. This is where a phase gate comes into play. A phase gate process involves moving ideas through a series of gates, where they are evaluated and refined before proceeding to the next stage. Each gate serves as a checkpoint to assess whether the idea meets specific criteria and is ready to move forward. This method ensures that only the most viable ideas progress, saving time and resources. In practice, you might begin with a large pool of ideas and use criteria like alignment with user needs, technical feasibility, market potential, and strategic fit to filter and prioritize them. This is another area where AI can support. It can provide consistent initial ratings based on parameters you've defined. The goal is to gradually narrow down the options, focusing on those that have the highest potential for success. If you're interested in learning more about idea evaluation best practice, check out our Ideation Essentials course here on the Academy. But remember, in design thinking, the goal is to test and iterate. So don't spend too much time perfecting an idea before prototyping. The faster you can build a prototype, the quicker you can gather feedback and make improvements. The ideation phase is all about unleashing creativity and exploring a wide range of solutions. By using traditional human ideation methods augmented by Gen AI-powered tools, you can generate innovative ideas that address real user needs. In our next session, we'll get into the final phases of design thinking, where we'll learn how to create tangible representations of our ideas, then validate them with real users in real-world conditions. See you there. Welcome back to this fifth session in our Design Thinking Essentials course. In our previous session, we covered the Ideate phase, exploring various methods to generate creative solutions. We'll now get into the final phases of the design thinking process, prototype and test. We'll cover how to bring our ideas to life and validate them in real-world conditions. The prototype phase is about turning ideas into tangible forms that can be tested and iterated. This step is crucial because it allows you to explore how solutions work in practice and identify any issues before investing significant time and resources. As Tim Brown, current chair and former CEO of Ideate, says about prototypes, they slow us down to speed us up. By taking the time to prototype our ideas, we avoid costly mistakes such as becoming too complex too early and sticking with a weak idea for too long. So, let's start with some practical tips for prototyping. First, start simple. Begin with low-fidelity prototypes. These can be anything from sketches to paper models or basic digital mock-ups. The goal is to create something quickly and cheaply that can be used to test more concepts and gather initial feedback. Second, iterate quickly. Prototyping is an iterative process. Create, test, refine, and repeat. This cycle allows you to continuously improve your design based on user feedback. Third, focus on key features. You don't need to prototype every aspect of your solution. Focus on the key features that address the core problems identified in the define phase. This approach saves time and ensures that you're testing the most critical elements of your design. Fourth, involve users early and often. Engage users in the prototyping process from the beginning. Their feedback is valuable when you need to identify what works and what doesn't. And finally, embrace failure. Not every prototype will be successful, and that's okay. Each failure is a learning opportunity that brings you closer to a successful solution. Now, we mentioned how low-fidelity prototypes are a good starting point in this phase. These are typically basic representations of a product or feature. The purposes of this is to visualize the concepts and gather user feedback on the basic flow and structure of the design without getting bogged down in details. So, they should be quick and easy to create using simple materials like paper, cardboard, or basic digital tools. Low-fidelity prototypes are great early on when speed, cost-effectiveness, and flexibility are most important. However, as you progress with your design, these prototypes may lack sufficient detail when it comes to aesthetics or functionality, which then might limit user feedback. At this point, once you've validated your low-fidelity prototype, you'll probably want to transition to a high-fidelity prototype for more rigorous testing and refinement. A high-fidelity prototype is a more detailed and interactive representation of the final product. It closely mimics the look, feel, and functionality of the end product. It's often created using advanced digital tools like Figma, Adobe XD, and 3D printing. With high-fidelity prototypes, you get more comprehensive and detailed user feedback. But of course, the trade-off is that producing them requires more time and money. Also, once created, they are harder to modify, which may limit rapid iteration. Choosing between low fidelity and high fidelity prototypes depends on the stage and specific needs of your project. To visualize this, imagine a graph with time on the x-axis and investment on the y-axis. As you move from left to right, representing time, the investment in the design process increases. This graph is adapted from computer scientist and designer Bill Buxton's design funnel. It shows that as investment in the design process increases over time, the criteria for reviewing and accepting concepts becomes more formal and stringent. The criteria weight increases. Initially, you focus on low-fidelity prototypes for quick, cost-effective idea exploration. As you gather insights and narrow down concepts, you transition to high-fidelity prototypes for detailed testing and validation. This shift from low to high fidelity also reflects a change from user interface design to usability testing, meaning early on, you're exploring the overall structure and visual design. And as you progress, the focus shifts to refining and rigorously testing how well the design works in practice. Take, for example, the design process for the original iPod. Apple's design team initially used low-fidelity prototypes to conceptualize the device's form factor and basic functionality. These early models were created using foam core and other simple materials. As the design evolved, they moved to high-fidelity prototypes, which included detailed industrial design models and working prototypes. This allowed Apple to fine-tune the user experience and ensure the device's functionality met its high standards before it went to mass production. Understanding the appropriate use of low-fidelity and high-fidelity prototypes ensures an efficient and effective design process. You want a good balance of exploration and refinement to develop innovative and practical solutions. Once you have your prototype, whether in low or high-fidelity form, it's time to move into the test phase. Testing is about validating your design with real users and gathering feedback to refine your solution. Here are some practical tips for effective testing. First, define clear objectives. Before testing, define what you want to learn from the test. This might be understanding how users interact with your product, identifying usability issues, or validating key assumptions. Second, select the right participants. Choose participants who represent your target users, the same group you identified at the start of the project. This ensures that the feedback you receive is relevant and actionable. Third, create a test plan. Outline the scenarios you want to test, the tasks you want participants to perform, and the questions you want to ask. Fourth, observe and take notes. During the test, observe how participants interact with your prototype and take detailed notes. Much like in the Empathize phase, pay attention to their behavior and body language in addition to verbal feedback. Fifth, ask open-ended questions. Encourage participants to share their thoughts and feelings about the prototype. Ask open-ended questions like, how did you find using this part of the product? Rather than, was this part of the product easy to use? And lastly, iterate based on feedback. Use the feedback gathered during testing to refine your prototype. This iterative process helps you continually improve your design based on real user input. Artificial intelligence can also benefit prototyping and testing. AI's ability to analyze vast data sets enables it to predict the success of various design elements, allowing for quicker adjustments and refinements. AI-powered tools can simulate user interactions with prototypes, identifying patterns and anomalies that might be missed through manual testing. They can also simulate various scenarios and stress test designs under different conditions. This is testing which would otherwise be costly or even impractical. It's an extreme example, but imagine you want to test how a vehicle will perform on another planet. Scientists can use AI to create a range of virtual environments to test the vehicle's performance on different terrains and conditions. By running countless simulations, AI can identify potential weaknesses in the design and suggest improvements, ensuring the vehicle is robust enough for a range of environments. Whether you're creating foam core mock-ups or AI-rendered models, investing in prototyping and testing is critical to successful design thinking and innovation. Companies that excel at rapid prototyping and testing achieve 50% faster time to market and 30% higher innovation success rates than their competitors. By starting simple, iterating quickly, and involving users throughout the process, you can develop products and services that truly meet the needs of your users. In our next and final session, we'll look at how to integrate design thinking into your end-to-end innovation process for continuous, user-centered value creation. See you there. Hey, thanks for sticking with us through this course on Design Thinking Essentials. We're now at the 6th and final session. We'll bring together everything we've learned so far and discuss how to integrate it all into your end-to-end innovation process. Design thinking isn't just a set of steps, it's a mindset and a culture that can transform how your organization approaches problem solving and innovation. By embedding design thinking into your processes, you can foster a more creative, user-focused, and agile organization. But that's not all. Several studies provide evidence of the tangible financial returns of design thinking. As mentioned in the first session, one study by McKinsey shows that companies with strong design capabilities significantly outperform their peers in revenue growth and shareholder returns. Just consider some of the companies that have become synonymous with the design thinking approach: Apple, IBM, Toyota, PepsiCo, and Nike, to name a few. Despite the clear advantages, many companies still fail to implement design thinking in a way that sets them up to achieve these advantages. Over 40% of companies surveyed by McKinsey still do not engage with their end users during the development process. Additionally, just over 50% report that they lack an objective method to establish and measure KPIs for their design team's output. And do you want to guess the biggest obstacle to integrating design thinking? It's time scarcity. In a survey of business leaders published by Springer Nature, a majority of respondents report that time constraints negatively impact creativity, decision-making, and the quality of outcomes. For every 5 organizations that initiate the design thinking process, 2 abandon it due to tight deadlines. So, how do you overcome this obstacle and make design thinking a core part of your organization's culture and workflow? Now, of course, you need to have the basics in place: leadership buy-in, cross-functional collaboration, a culture of continuous learning and improvement. These are requisites for innovation under any approach, but they don't necessarily directly address time constraints. To do this, you could look for ways to automate, augment, and streamline your processes using AI and Gen AI. Let's break down how this works. Automate routine tasks. Use AI to handle repetitive and essential tasks within the design thinking process. This includes data collection, analysis, and creating summary reports. Automating these tasks frees up valuable time for team members to focus on more complex and creative aspects of design thinking, such as ideation and prototyping. Augment human creativity and expertise. Enhance the team's creative capabilities and expertise with AI-powered tools. These tools can process vast amounts of information quickly, providing insights that amplify human creativity. For instance, AI can generate a broad range of in-scope and high-quality initial ideas during the ideation phase, allowing human designers to then refine and expand upon these concepts. Streamline end-to-end processes. Integrate AI into the entire design thinking workflow to consolidate all innovation-related data and activities on one single point of truth for your company. This centralization ensures that all team members have access to the same information, facilitating better collaboration and more informed decision-making throughout the design thinking process. Centralizing design thinking efforts in one place is probably the most effective way to integrate the process into your organization. This way, you ensure projects are aligned with the company's strategic goals and that the projects can be continuously monitored and systematically managed. Want to track the progress of your design projects? Bring your whole portfolio into a centralized platform where you can benchmark it against KPIs, monitor timelines, and spot critical dependencies, synergies, and blind spots. Centralization also makes it easier to allocate and prioritize resources. With a clear overview of all ongoing projects, you can quickly identify which initiatives align most closely with strategic priorities, ensuring that high-impact projects receive the attention and support they need. We've seen this firsthand with our own clients. Take the example of KSB, a global leader in pumps and valves manufacturing. Together with ITONICS, KSB built their digital backbone for global innovation management. Since the launch of the platform, the average processing time of an idea from submission to implementation has decreased by more than 60%. Just imagine bringing your own design concepts to market faster like that. Ultimately, the goal is to create an environment where design thinking is not an isolated activity, but a continuous, iterative process that permeates the entire organization. This ongoing cycle of empathizing, defining, ideating, prototyping, and testing ensures that every solution is deeply rooted in user needs and continuously refined through real-world feedback. To establish design thinking as a core organizational capability, encourage cross-functional projects that allow employees to apply design thinking principles in various contexts, recognize and reward innovative efforts, and create spaces, both physical and digital, where creative collaboration can thrive. By doing this, you build a resilient, forward-thinking organization, one that is equipped to adapt to changing market demands and technological advancements. As we conclude this course on design thinking essentials, remember that the key to successful design and innovation lies in fostering a culture of empathy, creativity, and iterative improvement. Embrace the tools and techniques we've discussed and leverage AI to overcome many of the obstacles that have traditionally hindered the design thinking process. Thank you for joining us. We hope you feel better equipped to turn customer insights into winning innovations. See you next time.